Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're jumping right in today with a passage you brought to us, 1 Peter 1, verses 3 through 9. And it really gets at something, doesn't it? This whole idea of, well, how do you get through really difficult times and still find, real joy, real hope?
Exactly. Yeah, when you shared this, it felt very relevant. So our aim today is really to explore why. Why do these verses push for rejoicing, even when things are tough?
Right.
And maybe more importantly, how can that message actually resonate with you listening right now, whatever you might be facing?
Yeah, and the first thing that really struck me is how it opens.
Mm,
It's just full of praise, isn't it?
it is.
Which feels almost like counterintuitive when you remember the background.
Yeah.
Your notes mentioned this was probably written during Nero's persecution.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking intense suffering for believers then.
Intense is right.
Hmm.
Talk about a difficult time.
A really difficult time. And yet, verse 3 immediately points to the reason for that praise, the resurrection of Jesus Christ. That event, Peter says, is the very basis for what he calls a living hope.
Living hope. Okay, so that's more than just like crossing your fingers and hoping for the best. What makes it living?
Well, think about it. It means your hope isn't dependent on, how your week went or the news cycle or even your own feelings, which can change constantly.
Right.
This hope is alive because it's anchored in something huge that happened, the resurrection. And this hope, this living hope, it connects directly to what verse 4 talks about next, an inheritance.
An inheritance that it says can't decay, can't spoil, can't fade, reserved in heaven for you. That's a completely different kind of security than anything down here, isn't it?
Totally different. It's a hope that goes way beyond the fragile things of this world. And speaking of security, verse 5 uses some really powerful language. It talks about being protected by God's power through faith.
Yeah, that word protected really jumps out. I looked it up once. The Greek word is frure. Is that right? It sounds almost military.
That's exactly right. And knowing that original word frure, it adds a layer, It wasn't just general keeping safe.
Okay.
It specifically meant something like a strong military garrison guarding a key fortress. It really emphasizes just how, powerfully and securely God is guarding you.
Wow. Okay, so not just watching over, but actively, strongly defending. Like someone suggested, it's like God sees you as this incredibly valuable thing he's guarding closely. It reminds me of some of those protection images you find in the Psalms or Isaiah.
It definitely underlines the value God places on us, the care he provides. But then you get to verse 6, and there's a shift, right?
Yeah.
The passage gets real about, grief. Experiencing grief because of trials, even if, as it says, it's for a little while.
Okay, this is where it gets really fascinating for me. How do you greatly rejoice, like it says, but at the same time feel genuine grief? They seem like opposites.
They really do feel like opposites, and the passage doesn't, ignore that tension. You mentioned the key phrase there, for a little while. That perspective on the temporariness of the trials in verse 6 is, it's crucial.
For a little while. That framing changes things, doesn't it? It's kind of like Romans 8.18, where Paul says, present suffering isn't even worth comparing to the future glory.
Exactly.
It gives you, the listener, a totally different perspective on whatever hard thing you're in right now.
It really can. Seeing today's troubles inside that bigger eternal picture is potentially transformative. And then there's the second big reason for rejoicing, even in hardship. It's the purpose behind the trials.
Ah, right. Verse 7. The refining of faith.
Mm-hmm.
The image that always comes to mind is gold being purified in fire. The heat burns off all the junk, right?
That's precisely the analogy. Just like fire makes gold purer and more valuable, these trials work to purify and strengthen your faith, making it more precious. And the ultimate goal of that whole process, the verse says, is that your faith results in praise and glory and honor when Jesus is revealed. It's about the long view.
It makes me think about looking back on tough times.
Wow.
What felt like the end of the world then seems different now. Smaller, maybe.
Yeah.
I remember hearing an analogy, maybe it was from you, like an adult looking back at playground drama from elementary school. It seemed huge then.
That's a great way to put it. A mature faith gives you that kind of broader perspective on present struggles. And, your reaction to trials now can actually be sort of an indicator of where your faith is at, its maturity level.
That's something to think about.
Okay.
Okay, so moving on to verse 8. This one's profound. Loving Jesus even though we haven't seen him. Believing now without seeing. And that leads to inexpressible and glorious joy.
It really is profound, isn't it? It points to the very nature of faith, this deep conviction in things we can't actually see with our eyes, a trust in something beyond the purely physical. You brought up the story of Thomas in John 20. That's a perfect contrast.
Yeah, exactly. Jesus says to Thomas, blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed. It suggests there's this powerful faith available to you that doesn't need the physical proof first. Maybe even a deeper kind.
A deeper kind indeed. Okay, so we have this living hope, God's powerful protection, faith being refined, leading to this incredible joy. What's it all aiming towards? What's the final outcome?
Verse 9 seems to wrap it up. The salvation of your souls. That sounds like the ultimate goal.
It is, but it's key to understand that salvation here isn't just about, getting into heaven when you die. It's bigger than that.
Bigger how? What does that mean for you today then?
Well, think of it covering everything. It includes forgiveness for the past, that actual present reality of being protected and helped by God now, and then the absolute guarantee of future resurrection, future glory. It's sort of the complete answer to our biggest questions, addressing your past, your present, and your future. So it's not just pie in the sky.
Yep.
It changes how you can live right now.
Right. Wow. Okay, so wrapping this up, 1 Peter is giving us solid reasons for joy, even in hardship. There's the living hope from the resurrection, God's strong protection, the idea that trials actually refine our faith, make it stronger,
Right.
and the end goal, this full salvation of our souls. And it all seems to circle back to Christ's resurrection, doesn't it?
It really does. It's the anchor point. The focus isn't like pretending bad things aren't happening, but holding tight to the certainty of these amazing eternal realities.
It's about keeping your eyes on the destination, right?
Right.
Knowing where you're ultimately going gives you strength for the rough parts of the road now.
Couldn't have said it better. Understanding that end goal gives us the power to endure whatever we're facing today.
This has been really good, a great deep dive into this passage. So maybe a final thought for you listening at home. If you were to consciously focus on that certain positive outcome we've been talking about, that hope, that inheritance, that salvation, instead of only focusing on the immediate difficulties you might be dealing with, what kind of shift might happen in your perspective, maybe even in your heart right now?
It's something to consider.
Definitely. We'll leave you with that thought. We'll be back next time for another deep dive.